Have you ever felt completely lost amid the chaos of life? As if thoughts and distractions were constantly pulling you in 1,000 directions while time slips through your fingers? What if I told you that the answer to this chaos might lie within you, just waiting to be discovered? Stoic philosophy, with its timeless wisdom, offers the keys to building an unshakable mind, capable of maintaining focus, clarity, and productivity, no matter what happens around you. Today, we'll explore together how simple yet powerful meditations can transform your mind into a true fortress. It's not about avoiding challenges, but about facing them with calm, discipline, and determination. Have you ever stopped to think that perhaps the greatest obstacle to achieving your goals isn't the outside world, but the way you handle your own thoughts? In today's video, we'll show you how Stoic philosophy can be the tool you need to take control of your mind, achieve greater focus, and create the life you truly desire. It's not a quick process, but a daily journey of transformation. If you're ready to discover how to become a stronger, more focused, and unstoppable version of yourself, keep watching until the end. Let us know in the comments which Stoic practice resonated with you the most, and share how you would apply these lessons in your daily life. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep learning how to use Stoic philosophy to live with more purpose and focus. Chaos is inevitable. We've all experienced it in some form. Whether it's an emotional storm, a personal crisis, or just a day when everything seems to go off track. What makes the difference, however, is not the chaos itself, but how we respond to it. Stoic philosophy teaches us the art of tranquility amidst turbulence. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic masters, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He knew that a well-trained mind can remain calm and focused even when the world around it is in turmoil. True freedom comes from within, from the control we have over our own reactions, not from the absence of challenges. One of the core practices of Stoicism is mental discipline. Imagine your mind as a clear window, free of fog, through which you can observe reality with clarity. The first step toward this is self-awareness. When you truly know yourself, you can recognize your emotional triggers and respond more thoughtfully. This doesn't mean ignoring emotions, but acknowledging their presence and choosing how to act in response. The Stoics teach us to accept what we cannot control and focus our energy on what we can change. Instead of getting lost in impulsive reactions, we learn to respond with wisdom and calm. The practice of detachment is also fundamental. When life throws chaos at us, it's easy to cling to the need for control, trying to fix everything our way. But the Stoics remind us that it's in letting go of rigid expectations and the obsession with control that we find our true strength. By accepting that we cannot control everything but can control our attitudes, our mind becomes stronger and more focused. This, in turn, gives us the ability to act with clarity and productivity, even when external circumstances seem to be falling apart. Distraction is one of the greatest enemies of productivity in the modern world. With so many stimuli around us, from phone notifications to the constant pressure for results, it's easy to lose focus and stray from our goals. However, the Stoics knew that true productivity begins with the ability to keep the mind focused on the present. "You have power over your mind, not outside events," said Seneca. This phrase is key to understanding the impact of distractions on our lives. When we get lost in scattered thoughts, we waste the precious time we have. The first Stoic meditation to combat distraction is the practice of mindfulness. The Stoics believed that the mind should be present in everything we do. If we're talking, we should focus on the conversation. If we're working, we should be fully engaged in what we're doing. This is harder than it sounds, especially in a world full of distractions. However, with time and practice, we learn to redirect our mind back to what's essential. Every time our attention drifts, it's an opportunity to train the mind to return to focus. Another powerful practice is negative visualization. The Stoics, like Epictetus, suggested imagining the worst possible scenarios. This wasn't an invitation to pessimism, but a way to prepare the mind for challenges. By visualizing what could go wrong, we create a more resilient mindset that isn't easily shaken by the small distractions and frustrations of daily life. Though it may seem paradoxical, this practice helps us keep our attention on what truly matters, reducing the impact of external distractions. Moreover, Stoic philosophy teaches us not to cling to the future or the past, but to live fully in the present. Lack of focus often stems from worrying about what's to come or regretting what's gone. The Stoics encourage us to embrace the present with all our energy, as it's in the now that we have the power to transform our actions and achieve tangible results. When we're immersed in the present, productivity flows naturally, and distractions lose their grip on us. Imagine for a moment having a mind so strong and unbeatable that nothing, absolutely nothing, can shake it. A mental state where you're in tune with what's happening around you, but undisturbed by it. The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, already knew the secret to this. For them, an unbeatable mind wasn't a rare gift, but a skill cultivated daily. It's not about being invulnerable to life's difficulties, but about facing them with courage, focus, and determination. True mental strength, according to the Stoics, comes from self-discipline and emotional control. The foundation of an unbeatable mind is what the Stoics call self-mastery. They teach us that our mind, like a muscle, needs training. The first step in cultivating an unbeatable mind is clarity about what we can truly control and what is beyond our reach. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that control over the mind is in our hands. What can we control? Our reactions, our thoughts, and our attitudes. The rest is simply the flow of life, which we must accept without resistance. When we learn to focus only on what's within our control, the mind strengthens, and adversities begin to seem smaller. Another essential principle for building this invincible mind is detachment. The relentless pursuit of outcomes or identification with what we possess or achieve often weakens us, as it creates unrealistic expectations and makes us vulnerable to loss. Stoic philosophy teaches us to detach from the need for external validation. By accepting that true strength comes from within, we free ourselves from the constant search for approval and learn to act with greater freedom. As Epictetus said, it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. By changing our perspective, we change our reality. To build an unbeatable mind, it's also necessary to cultivate what we might call mental resilience. This is achieved through the daily practice of Stoic meditation, which helps us strengthen the mind and face challenges with serenity. By confronting our fears and insecurities head-on, without running from them, we become stronger and better prepared to face any storm. Mental resilience, combined with self-mastery and detachment, creates a solid foundation for a mind that nothing can topple. Thus, the Stoic learns to navigate difficulties with the peace of mind of someone who knows they are in control of themselves. Have you ever noticed how fleeting and hard to control thoughts can be? Sometimes it feels like the mind has a life of its own, drifting to the most chaotic corners, getting lost in anxieties, worries, and useless ruminations. But what if there were a way to tame this mental storm and transform the mind into a focused and productive tool? The Stoics have already shown us the way. For them, controlling thoughts isn't just a technique, but a daily practice of mental discipline that allows us to find peace and control in our inner chaos. Epictetus, for example, believed that it's not events that disturb us, but our beliefs about them. In other words, it's how we choose to interpret reality that shapes our thoughts. The first step to controlling the mind, according to Stoic philosophy, is self-awareness. This means being fully conscious of your thoughts as they arise. Often, we're flooded with automatic, irrational thoughts without even noticing. The Stoic practice of questioning these thoughts with the necessary distance and reflection allows us to observe our mental reactions with greater clarity. When you start noticing how often your thoughts veer in unwanted directions, you gain the ability to interrupt that flow and redirect it more constructively. This is the power of self-awareness. By becoming aware of your mental flow, you can choose not to identify with it. A powerful Stoic technique for controlling thoughts is negative visualization. This technique isn't about fostering pessimism, but about preparing the mind for potential difficulties. By clearly imagining challenging situations that might arise, you strengthen your mind, making it more resilient to the impact of any event. Negative visualization also helps alleviate fear of the unknown and unnecessary anxieties, allowing the mind to focus on the present moment without getting lost in an uncertain future. Thus, by visualizing a difficult situation, for example, you're already mentally prepared to face it, significantly reducing the power negative thoughts have over you. Additionally, another fundamental technique is mental discipline, which is essential for cultivating a mind that isn't dominated by thoughts. Discipline isn't just about action, but about knowing when to quiet the mind. The Stoics teach us to have control over the amount of stimuli we allow into our lives, which includes consciously choosing where to direct our attention. A disciplined mind is one that doesn't let itself be swept away by internal turbulence. It's a mind that, when faced with irrational or negative thoughts, has the ability to simply let them go, like a leaf floating on water. This doesn't mean ignoring thoughts, but choosing not to be consumed by them. If you feel your mind is constantly overwhelmed, lacking focus or clarity, you're not alone. We live in a world of distractions, and the pressure for results can easily scatter our attention. However, the Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, have practices that can help us restore mental focus and clarity, essential for a more balanced and productive life. As Seneca said, "We don't have too little time, but we waste too much." It's precisely this waste of time that we need to learn to avoid. Stoic practices teach us to focus on what's essential, cultivating a mind that knows where to direct its energy. The first Stoic practice for increasing focus is daily meditation. Unlike modern meditations, which often seek immediate calm, Stoic meditation invites us to reflect on what truly matters while practicing detachment from thoughts and emotions. During this practice, you focus on examining your mind, emotions, and thoughts critically and without judgment. By setting aside time each day for this meditation, you train your mind to focus on the present while diminishing the power of external distractions. Marcus Aurelius, for example, practiced meditation as a way to stay true to his mission, helping him find clarity amidst the whirlwind of his imperial life. The second practice is visualizing the day's actions. Each day is a new opportunity to shape your mind and achieve clarity. The Stoics used the exercise of mentally planning the actions they needed to perform, visualizing potential situations and how they would respond to them with calm and self-control. By mentally preparing for the day's challenges, you increase your ability to maintain focus and clarity, even when the unexpected arises. It's not about predicting every possibility, but about strengthening your mind for whatever comes, creating a resilient mindset that isn't swayed by uncertainty or fear of the future. Finally, the third practice is detaching from expectations. Often focus and mental clarity are lost not because tasks are difficult, but because we're overly attached to expectations about outcomes. Stoic philosophy teaches us that by letting go of the outcome, our mind becomes more focused on the process, on what we can truly control. This allows us to act with greater serenity, without the weight of expectations pulling us away from what's truly important. As Epictetus reminds us, happiness and freedom begin with mental clarity and acceptance of what we cannot control. By applying this practice, the mind becomes more fluid and less prone to frustration, as the focus is no longer on what we expect, but on the quality of our actions. Modern life constantly teaches us to accumulate. More things, more goals, more distractions. But paradoxically, it's in detachment that we find true freedom. Stoic philosophy offers a unique perspective on detachment, going far beyond simply letting go. It's not just about giving up objects or superficial desires, but about learning not to depend on them for our happiness or inner peace. This is especially important when seeking a focused mind. After all, the more attached we are to external things, the more scattered our attention becomes, making it harder to stay focused on what truly matters. For the Stoics, detachment is a continuous exercise in inner liberation, allowing our mind to concentrate on the present without getting lost in desires, expectations, or worries. The practice of detachment begins with accepting what we cannot control. We cannot control external circumstances, other people's behavior, or the events of the world. But what we can control is how we react to it all. Through Stoic philosophy, we learn to let go of the illusion of control and focus on what's truly important: our attitude, our inner peace, and the actions we take in the present moment. By detaching from expectations and the desire to control the uncontrollable, our mind finds the clarity needed to make wiser, more focused decisions. Epictetus always reminded us, it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This detachment from opinions and expectations allows us to live more authentically and focused. Another aspect of Stoic detachment is letting go of excessive worries. Sometimes we become so obsessed with what could go wrong or with future outcomes that our mind gets lost in a cycle of anxiety and uncertainty. The Stoics teach us to simplify our lives and focus on the actions and decisions of the moment. Instead of living with a mind weighed down by the future, we can learn to live more lightly, accepting that we cannot control everything and that by focusing on what's within our reach, we can act with more purpose and clarity. Detachment, therefore, isn't about shirking responsibilities or desires, but about learning not to cling to outcomes and the need to control every aspect of life. Detachment also involves freeing ourselves from internal distractions. Often, we're consumed by thoughts of regret about the past or fear of the future, which prevents us from being fully present. Mental detachment is a daily practice that involves letting go of ruminations and anxieties that drain our energy. When we detach from these distractions, the mind becomes more focused and productive. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true freedom comes from not being bound by our own thoughts, emotions, or external situations. It's only when we free ourselves from attachment to what we cannot control that our mind becomes truly focused and unbeatable. Impulses are like sudden storms that arise out of nowhere, stirring everything around them and pulling us off the path we plan to follow. The problem isn't having impulses, but how we choose to deal with them. Stoic philosophy offers a simple yet profoundly transformative solution: the practice of self-discipline. Self-discipline isn't about suppressing desires or feelings, but about choosing the right response in the face of an impulse's urgency. As Epictetus said, freedom is not the freedom to do what we want, but the freedom to do what we must. When we master our impulses, we gain not only control over our actions, but also over the destiny we want to build for ourselves. Self-discipline, then, becomes the cornerstone of a life of focus, achievement, and inner peace. For the Stoics, the practice of self-discipline begins with awareness of our own thoughts and desires. The first step is recognizing when we're being pulled by an immediate impulse that doesn't align with our values or long-term goals. Often, we're quick to react to a provocation, temptation, or intense emotion. The first step is to step back and observe, without judgment, that impulse in action. By becoming more aware, we start to see that we can choose our response. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This gap between impulse and action allows us to make clearer, more focused decisions. Moreover, Stoic philosophy teaches us to cultivate a long-term mindset, a powerful antidote to short-term impulses. By focusing on our greater goals and the deeper purpose of our lives, fleeting momentary impulses lose their power to derail us. Self-discipline isn't about willpower, but about maintaining a clear vision of what truly matters. The constant practice of reminding ourselves of our purpose and values allows us to say no to impulses that arise along the way, confident that we're choosing what's best for our peace of mind and personal growth. True power lies in choosing actions that bring us closer to our goals, not in the momentary satisfaction an impulse might bring. Finally, Stoic meditation invites us to reflect on what is truly valuable and what is fleeting. When faced with an impulse, whether to give in to temptation or react impulsively to a situation, we can ask ourselves, does this really help me grow as a person? Does this contribute to the life I want to live? The answer often brings us back to focus and discipline. This constant reflection on our actions and choices strengthens our ability to resist impulses and guides us toward a more centered and balanced life. By incorporating the practice of self-discipline into our daily routine, we begin to develop the inner strength needed to become masters of our own lives. Life, as we all know, is not made of easy moments. What sets apart those who face adversities with serenity from those who get lost in them is inner strength and the ability to stay focused. In moments of crisis, when everything seems to fall apart, it's natural to feel lost. However, the Stoics offer a unique approach to maintaining focus during tough times. For them, it's not about avoiding pain or difficulty, but about accepting them as a natural part of the human experience. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the obstacle to progress becomes the path. The true Stoic skill lies in keeping the mind steady no matter the external storms. The first step is accepting what we cannot control. If there's one thing the Stoics teach us, it's that control is an illusion. External circumstances, losses, and challenges cannot be changed, but we can choose how we respond to them. When we cling to the need to control everything around us, frustration is inevitable. However, by accepting what's inevitable, we gain the freedom to focus on what truly matters: our reaction, our attitude, and our choices. By practicing this acceptance, the mind becomes calmer, and clarity for action arises naturally. When difficulties arise, focus remains because we don't waste energy trying to change what's beyond our reach. The second fundamental Stoic practice for maintaining focus in tough times is a clear vision of purpose. In times of crisis, what keeps us grounded is our ability to remember what truly matters. The Stoics emphasize that we must have a clear mission, a purpose to guide us. When focus wavers and pain becomes intense, it's our vision of what we want to achieve that keeps the mind focused. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or challenges, but using those moments as fuel to keep our actions aligned with our greater purpose. Stoic philosophy teaches us that adversity is, in fact, an opportunity to test our inner strength and focus. Moreover, Stoic philosophy reminds us of the importance of continuous practice of self-control during difficult times. Maintaining focus isn't something that happens automatically. It's something that must be trained every day. The Stoics believed in the importance of constant effort to develop emotional and mental self-sufficiency. This means practicing control over our impulses and emotions daily until they become part of who we are. When a crisis arises, the mind is already trained to respond with calm and clarity instead of getting lost in emotions or impulsive reactions. This allows us to stay focused even in the most challenging situations. The human mind is like an open field, vulnerable to the storms of life, uncertainties, and daily challenges. But Stoicism teaches us that by cultivating the right practices, we can transform our mind into a true fortress, immune to external adversities. For the Stoics, true strength lies not in the circumstances we face, but in how we respond to them. By focusing on daily practices that promote self-awareness, self-control, and serenity, We can create a mind that remains unshaken, unbreakable in the face of difficulties. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes courageous and strong through struggle. One of the most powerful practices for transforming the mind into a fortress is the daily examination of conscience. The Stoics believe that at the end of each day, we should reflect on our actions and thoughts. The goal isn't to punish or criticize ourselves, but to learn from our mistakes and celebrate our victories. This examination allows us to adjust our attitudes and reactions each day, aligning our mind with the values we want to cultivate. It offers the opportunity to observe how we responded to challenges and whether those responses align with our purpose. The daily examination of conscience strengthens our mental self-sufficiency, as it allows us to see clearly where we're going wrong and where we can improve. Another essential practice for creating an unbeatable mind is detaching from external expectations. Throughout life, we're often shaped by the expectations of society, family, or even our own desires. The Stoics teach us that these expectations are often the root of suffering, as they lead us to want to control the uncontrollable and seek what's beyond our reach. By detaching from these expectations, we free the mind from the burden of constantly seeking validation. This detachment isn't about being indifferent to others, but about freeing ourselves from the need for external approval to find inner strength. True mental fortitude is born when we're aligned with our own value and purpose, without needing others' approval to feel sufficient. Finally, accepting the present moment is the key to mental fortitude. Life doesn't happen in the future or the past, but in the present. And it's in the present that true strength is found. The Stoics teach us to embrace the current moment, regardless of circumstances, as the only moment we can truly control. By accepting the present without resistance, we develop a mind that's resilient and immune to unnecessary suffering. Each moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen our mind and spirit. When we stop fighting what's happening now, our mind becomes clearer, more focused, and stronger. Building a daily habit of focus isn't a simple task. However, the Stoics teach us that consistent, disciplined practice is the path to transforming any aspect of our lives. Focus isn't something you achieve once and for all. It's something you build and strengthen every day. Stoic philosophy provides the tools needed to create a daily habit of focus, helping us keep our minds clear and directed toward what truly matters. As the old Stoic proverb says, "Life is neither good nor bad, but it's what we make of it." So if we want to transform our minds, we must start with the right practices. The first essential practice is daily self-discipline training. Self-discipline isn't just about having willpower in tough moments, but about adopting a consistent stance every day. The Stoics suggest that just as we train the body, we must train the mind. Waking up each day with a clear intention and purpose already starts to cultivate focus. Setting small, achievable goals and reviewing them daily is a simple and effective way to strengthen this habit. The constant practice of bringing the mind back to the goal, especially when it wanders, is part of self-discipline training. The second practice is creating daily rituals. Stoic philosophy is quite pragmatic in this sense. To maintain focus, it's important to have daily habits that keep the mind disciplined. This can include specific moments for reflection, meditation, or planning. Creating small rituals during the day, such as reviewing your goals in the morning and reflecting on your actions at night, keeps the mind connected to what's most important. Additionally, having a moment of silence, where you focus solely on your breathing or the present moment, without rush or external pressures, helps recalibrate the mind, making focus a constant practice and an integral part of daily life. Finally, the Stoics teach us that detaching from distractions is essential for creating a lasting habit of focus. We live in a world of constant distractions, but the Stoics remind us that our peace and productivity exist only when we actively choose what deserves our attention. Learning to say no to things that don't serve our goals and focusing only on the essential is an act of discipline. This can be done, for example, by limiting time on social media, setting periods of total focus on specific tasks, and avoiding multitasking. Focus requires mental space, and distractions constantly steal that space. By detaching from distractions, we create a mental environment that fosters productivity and alignment with our deepest values. Now that you know the powerful Stoic practices for cultivating a focused and unbeatable mind, the next step is to put this knowledge into action. Remember, nothing changes if you don't act. Ask yourself, how can I apply what I learned today in my daily life? What habits can I start cultivating now to train my mind to be more disciplined and resilient? If you want to transform your mind into a fortress, the time to start is now. If this video resonated with you and you felt the spark of change ignite within you, I invite you to write in the comments which of these practices you'll apply first. Let's share our growth journey together. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to keep learning more about how Stoic philosophy can transform your life. Don't let the world's distractions pull you off your path. The power is in your hands. The change starts now, and it starts with you. Let's embark on this transformation journey together.